What is less expensive? Finding a phone list that you can call 100 people in a day, or mailing out 100 postcards for a year? Because the postcards are going to cost you an average of about $1.34, $1.35, somewhere around there by the time you're done with postage and everything. Not to mention the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas knocking on an expired, you can do that without hardly any cost at all. Take a business card and your charming personality, you can go win that tonight. And yet that's more of a D and an I thing than a C and an S. Which is right, which is wrong, I don't know. Now, remember when I talked about the adaptive personality of the person in church? Can you adapt your personality for a short time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can prove it to you. Has anybody in this room ever had more month than money? Okay? 5 or 6 honest people. That's fantastic. Oh, month than money, that means you don't have enough money to live that month. So that's, thank you for asking. So when I first got my real estate license, I'm a high DC, by the way. High DC. To this day, I still detest for sale by owners. There's 2 reasons. One is I don't want to go knock on the door and talk to them. Okay? And the second thing is I get really upset that they think they can do my job as good as I can. I mean, I've got my license, I have all the information, I've got the professional skills, and they want to sell it on their own. Okay, do you see the things that go on in my head? Okay, they're just as weird as the things that go on in your head. All right, so here's the problem though. I had no money at first. I had a wife, I had a kid, I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, and I went cold turkey into real estate. So do you think I had to adapt my behavior? My very first listing was a for sale by owner. My second listing was a for sale by owner, and my 4th listing was a for sale by owner. And as soon as my postcard mailings got underway and I was getting people calling me to come, hey, talk to me about selling my house, I quit going. I haven't been to a for sale by owner in 15 years and never want to go to another. But that's because I had to have business now for a very low cost on the top before I was able to move to the bottom. Is that an honest conversation we can have about how the business works?
Yes.
Okay. Where would you put Facebook posts or Twitter tweets, all the other kind of fun stuff, Instagram, Snapchat? Where would you put that on here?
I.
I? Okay.
IS.
IS? Okay, because there might be a way you're building a
You have
story.
to be personality. You have to be personable when you're doing those kind of posts, but
Right.
it's also not as engaging as talking to somebody face to face. It's a passive way of being social.
Right, it's a passive way of being sociable. Here's your homework tonight, just to continue your studies on this, by the way. Your homework could very well be, go on and look at 100 realtors' posts and figure out if they're an I, an S, a C, or a D. Because I see a lot of posts by realtors that say, hey, anybody looking to buy or sell a house? Is that building a relationship, or is that getting right to the point of what you want? Yeah, it's getting right to the point. Use me, use me, use me. Can I ask you a question? What's in it for them? How about if you have an adaptive behavior, if you're that high D person or C person, you just want to get right to the facts? How about if you have an adaptive behavior and throw out something that's entertaining? Do you realize that real estate is entertainment for a lot of people? That's why there's 38 shows on HGTV about buying houses in Costa Rica or Alaska or just. So I get home yesterday, my wife's got, is it the Property Bros or the Property Brothers? And the first thing I do is I walk in and I turn the channel. I don't even want to, I mean, I do real estate for a living. I'm not going to watch it for entertainment. And yet my wife loves it, okay? So the reason they're successful is why? Why are those shows successful? We all want to be them, okay? We want the fame and the money that goes on. Okay, that's a high I answer. I like that. Okay, I do like that.
They don't show the actual stuff. They just show like the fun parts of it.
The fun parts. That's exactly.
The whole thing.
Yes. Why else? It's a story. It's entertainment. So what if you took that to your Facebook posts? What if you took that to your farming? What if you took that to your calling? Now, for you D's and I's, the I's, you gotta be careful that you're not just rambling on about everything. The D's gotta remember to actually have a purpose to call that is for the S's and the C's. And the S's, it's a natural behavior for them, they just have to do it. They have to risk putting themselves out there, and the most devastating thing to an S, going back to the church setting, is they're sitting next to somebody and the person says to them, I can't wait to tell you about the house I just got under contract. And the S is going, I'm so happy for you, but inside they're dying. Why didn't they choose me? Why don't they like me? Kind of follow where I'm going with this? And yet they have to get up and rise up and go again. And we all have a little bit of that S in us, right? No matter how we go. Is this generating any questions or thoughts? Greta, I see you back there smiling. Do you have any comments about this?
No, I'm definitely I'll post funny stuff all the time. I've used my granddaughter a lot for my Facebook friend, but I'm not about to pick up the phone and call you.
So you're a passive person in the marketing, but you're doing something to get them to call you so that then you can talk to them all day long.
Oh, to make it funny, because somebody told me that if you put something funny up like your kids, and then right behind it put your listing up, you've already engaged in it. Anyway.
Right. Can I give you S's a social media gold mine of leads? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Go into your social media friends' personal pages and look up something they posted somewhere between 10 days and 3 weeks ago, especially if it has to do with their kids or something important in their life. Go back about 10 days or 3 weeks, because what happens to your post after about 48 hours?
It disappears.
Nobody ever sees them again, right? When's the last time you had a high engagement personal post of like 55 likes, 17 of which were hearts, and like 16 comments? Do you actually go in and do you actually read them and remember them? I mean, could you actually name off 5 or 6 people that actually did all that stuff? But especially if you're an S, listen to me here. Couldn't you go in and find something that was important to them 10 days or 3 weeks ago, and then privately Facebook message them and say, I remember seeing that thing about your son, about winning 2nd place in the karate tournament. That was on my mind, and I just wanted to say congratulations. Do you think that message will be remembered? Do you think you have to remind them that you're a real estate agent? Because they're probably just going to go to your thing, and somewhere on there, about every 4th or 6th or 8th post, you're going to have something about real estate. You're not just going to vomit real estate all the time, I hope. That's what the high Ds want to do. I'm going to put 37 days of real estate. They're going to love it. The 3% of the population out there that's a D will get it. Real estate agent, got it, love it, thank you. The S's are like, oh, all they want from me is money. What's the largest segment of our population?
S.
S. Okay. So let's take all of this that we've learned about ourselves. On page, I think it's 142 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, where it talks about the different lead generation styles. It talks about lead generation. And it's got like 35 or 36 different kinds of lead generation on there. Go to that page. I could be wrong on the page, but it's in the lead generation model. Go on that page and plot out on this piece of paper postcards. Plot out BizBos. Plot out the things. And then study your personality and start leaning that way. Now, you may have to adapt your behavior for a short time to make money. Because that's why we got the license, right? Absolutely, that's why we got the license.
Chris.
So we may have to adapt our behavior. Yes?
Sorry, it's 138.
138, thank you very much. Page 138. Appreciate that, Jack. So go in there, and you might have to adapt your behavior for a little while. I think open houses are the perfect mix of passive and active activities. I wish Tasha Morant were here, because she was telling me about how much of her business comes from open houses. She's clearly somebody that has figured out how to go from, hey, welcome to the house, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, walk around the house, have a good time, to by the time he leaves, I got his name, I got his number, and I've got pretty much at least a half-hearted commitment to go sit down with him and help them identify a house, all right? So that's a real good skill between passive and active. Open houses are a gold mine. But now let's talk about how you relate to people. Because as you go through this business, the hardest thing is to remember to communicate in somebody else's language and not your own. And I am talking to me, okay? There are people in this room who I have addressed in some form or fashion. As I've walked away, they've gone, whoa, the grenade just went off, okay? And I'm walking down the hall going, ooh, that interaction went pretty good, okay? Because I just say what's on my mind. I say it in what I hear, which my wife and I have a joke. If you're upset with me, please tell me, because otherwise I'm not gonna pick up on it. You know, just say, okay, I'm upset with you, this is why, and that way I can understand. But I'm also the guy that it's hard for me to get really upset with you, because I just figure we'll just solve the problem and move on. And yet, what am I, a high D? How much of the population is high D?
50%.
So who's the onus on? Is the onus on 97% to understand me, or is it my onus to understand the 97%? I need to understand the 97%, especially when you're raising kids, staying married for 32 years. So my wife is a high IS, so the marriage has stayed together for 32 years because of her. All right? We can all agree on that. Anybody that's met her will know that's true. So as you go through and you learn these personalities, what's really cool is you learn to adapt the other person's personality for whatever amount of time you're with them. All right? One of the most effective ways to sell a house to a couple is to put them in your car and drive them around. For you experienced agents, why is that?
You can hear what they say to each other.
You can hear what they say to each other. You can begin to learn what's important to them. By the way, tip, 2 things about having people in the car all day. The first one is that people always ask, who's the decision maker? Is it the person that sits in the front seat? Is it the person that sits in the back seat? Is it the person that tells you what houses they want to see? I always say, no matter what, it's almost always the wife that's in charge. I don't care what the guy thinks, it's almost always the wife that's in charge. If you call me an old sexist guy, that's fine. And yet, if you go with that general thing, it's gonna work. The second thing is once they start fighting in front of you, they're your clients for life. And you're laughing, and yet how many of you have had couples start fighting in front of you as you're out and about with them? That's because now they trust you. Or they have no social manners whatsoever. Okay? Usually it's that they trust you. All right, so as you can adapt the personalities, so listing appointments, how can you figure out somebody, so somebody calls you, or emails you, or answers a postcard in some capacity, or comes in on a website that you've set up, and they say, I would like you to tell me about, I'd like you to come out Tuesday at 7 o'clock and tell me about the value of my house. What is the quickest way you can find out what house you're walking into before you ever arrive at the house?
Go to the website and on the internet.
Go on the internet and kind of scope them out on Facebook or whatever?
To see the house?
You know, how do you know the personality of the people you're walking into?
Okay.
I see, okay, sorry, I asked the question wrong, yeah. How do you know what kind of personalities you're walking into before you ever walk into the house? I should have asked the question differently, thank you.
I Google everybody.
You Google everybody?
How they respond to you.
How they respond to you, okay? So you're Googling them to kind of see what's important to them, that kind of thing, and then how you respond. So one of the things I would recommend to anybody is have a pre-qualification list that you're gonna call about. And what's your name?
Tammy.
Tammy. If I called you Tammy, and I said, so Tammy, tell me about your motivation for moving, which is one of the great questions I like to ask. And you start telling me all about your grandkids, your kids all moved to Texas, and the grandkids are down there now, and wow, I'm missing my grandkids growing up, and all that kind of stuff. Where would I put that on the chart here? Yeah, on the disc chart, where would you put the fact that she wants to live closer to her grandkids, be closer to her kids?
S.
S. Relationships are so important to her then she's willing to uproot her life for the last 45 years and go there. Okay? Now, what if I call Asa, I say, what's your motivation for moving? And Asa says, man, I've been looking at the market. I got like $150,000 worth of equity in this place. And I'm ready to cash in and get something else. D. Okay? If Asa says, you know, hey, listen, I'm looking at building a recording studio. Does that sound familiar to you? Okay. I'm looking at building a recording studio, and I want this YouTube, because I want this YouTube channel up, and I want it running. I want people to see. I just need more space for people to see my art. Where would you put it? Okay, I think I'm going to go with I on that. Because not only does he want people to hear his stuff, because he's an influencer, he wants people to look at me. That's an I. Nothing wrong with that. Look at everybody on the news. All the anchors, they're all high eyes. And then if you call up a guy and you don't get a hold of him right away, or a gal for that matter, you call them up and it turns out to be their work phone and they work at Henderson Engineering, where do you think they are on the desk? C. There's a pretty good chance they're going to be a C. Because we want our engineers and our doctors and our lawyers to be fairly exacting, do we not? Okay. I'll never forget. So this is a true story of real estate that is a complete train wreck failure. I'll never forget walking into a listing appointment without fully understanding any of this stuff. It was back in my first year of real estate. And I'm doing the listing appointment, and because I've done my comp, I know more about the neighborhood and the house than they do. Okay? So that's a problem right there, knowing more than everybody. So but I'm talking to them, and I have explained to them several times why the house isn't worth what they think it's worth. And I started the next sentence with, how can I make you understand? How much longer do you think that listing appointment went?
Maybe 5 minutes?
No, it wasn't 5 minutes. It was much less. It was much less. I'm a high D talking to a high S personality. It wasn't a fit. Okay? Now if I walked in there, I would be a completely different person for 40. I can do it for 45 minutes. Okay? Because is it because I want the commission check? Absolutely, huge motivator.
Yeah.
Okay? It's also because I honestly, truly believe that there's not anybody that's going to work any harder, know any more, do whatever it takes to take care of these people. And if that means I have to adapt my personality for Asa to understand better, then that's what I'm going to do. And by the way, once I began to learn this, my parenting became much better too. I finally began to understand why my wife's lips were moving nonstop. She just needed somebody to listen. Okay, because my D was like, why are we talking? I can't do anything about it. You're laughing, but this is true. Right. This is why marriages break up. And by the way, marriages can sometimes be between an agent and a buyer, or an agent and a seller. Okay? So if I walked in and I was doing a listing appointment, and I had very little pre-qualification done, and I walk in and somewhere in the very beginning, I notice Ace is being a little curt with me, and I find out that Asa owns his own business. What personality do you think that might be? High D. So as an agent, if I'm a high S agent, and I've just spent 3 hours working on my comp, and I really want to go through the comp, because I did a really good job with them. Oh man, you should see the graphs I've got. Okay, I've got it on my little tablet here. I'm going to show you the pictures of the 7 comps. We're going to go through, we're going to look at all this kind of stuff. If he's a business owner and a high D personality, what does he want to know?
What's the word?
Yeah.
How much can I make?
Yeah, what are you going to sell it for? What are you going to do? When are we going to get started? You know how to tell a high D personality? You go, I'm going to explain the listing appointment. He goes, or the contract, the exclusive right to sell. He's going to go, just let me sign it. Any of you had that done? That's a sure indicator of a high D. How many of you have ever closed a home with an engineer? Okay. Here's a tip. Here's a tip. 24 hours before the closing, get them a copy of everything they're going to sign. Unless you want to be at closing for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Because every word on the contract matters to an engineer. Is that not true?
They were both engineers.
Oh, Again, true story in my life.